player from up in Minneapolis. Played against him a couple times here. And as you can tell, if you get to this part in the game where he has, judging by the number of cards on Tom McLeod's side of the table, I would say that this game is going pretty well for him.
It feels like this is one of the lock games.
We see
bunch
here,
of Mazaviths in play.
Yeah, we see 2 Mazaviths, a Mox Diamond. We see 9 lands, including a pair of Grove of the Burn Willows, Punishing Fire in the graveyard, a Loam in the graveyard. So Colin's not really going to be able to attack, well, ever, most likely. He's going to swing with both. Both creatures get mazed. And lands is kind of a prison deck.
Oh, yeah. It's not kind of a prison deck.
Lands is a prison deck. All right.
This is a prison deck.
You think Death and Taxes likes Reset Import? Let me tell you, there's a deck out there that likes Reset Import more.
Yeah, it likes Reset Import enough to play Thespian Stage to copy Reset Imports.
It's real fun. You can have 8 of them if you need. You can just port everything. And he's going to go ahead and dredge Loam back. Yeah, and we will look at this second. The 2 Phyrexian Revokers, they are naming Mox Diamond and Engineered Explosives. So a little inconvenient for Tom, but nothing he can't really deal with. He's going to go ahead and cycle off that Tranquil Thicket, which he loaned back, so he can get new cards in addition to getting all his lands.
It looks like Mazavith is doing a pretty good job of containing most of what Colin has going, so.
Yeah, and this is a really gross part. When you get Loam, all this mana going Loam with Tranquil Thicket, you can cast Loam 2-3 times in a turn. You really start tutoring your whole deck.
Now the question is, does Tom have anything in play that allows him to cheat his land drops?
It doesn't look like he has. It looks like he has a pair of Explorations under that Mox Diamond. So I think he gets 3 lands a turn right now.
That's a lot.
It's pretty good, especially when you get all these extra lands. Krosan Grip in hand as a spell. I'm not sure if he has any other actual spells. They may just be more lands.
And it feels like Krosan Grip is the last piece of the puzzle here, since he can grip any of the offending Revokers and get whatever he's sitting on going.
Yeah. Remember, Phyrexian Revoker is a non-land permanent, which is why you don't see any of them naming those Mazaviths that are keeping Colin at bay. And here comes another Reset Import. Maybe not another, but a Reset Import, and a Thespian Stage, and a Wasteland. Those are his 3 lands for the turn. We'll see just how much upkeep porting he can do. He has quite a few lands in play. I'm not sure what the port count is at. Upkeep, we see 1 Reset Import, 2 Reset Imports. So it's 2 planes he's keeping him off of. The general idea is to port the basics and wasteland the non-basics.
Yep. And that play pattern was actually facilitated back in Mercadian Masks when they printed Reset Import and Dust Bowl in the same set. So that was a really important skill set to have when you played Standard back then.
Colin plays his own Reset Import. That's going to be live for about 1 turn. He can pre-combat tap a Mazavith. We have another result. So Chris Allen playing Omnitel. He's one of our undefeated players. He defeats Nathan Keithley's Jund deck in not too much of a surprise. Keithley was able to get a game, which is more than we predicted, but he wasn't able to get 2 of them.
Yeah, that's actually quite the accomplishment there in that matchup. Not an easy one by any stretch for Jund. So this deck appears to be a labor of love for Tom over here. A lot of foils and black bordered duels. I mean, those foil ports are...
Oh yeah, it's a beautiful copy of lands he has. And it looks like, I want to say we got a copy of, one of the Thespian Stages became a Reset Import there. Became a Taiga there. I guess that just gives him more draw.
Yeah, keeps the thickets spinning.
And start out by dredging Loam. We see Tabernacle and Talaria West as new lands put into the graveyard. Tabernacle seems fine. We haven't had a Tabernacle yet.
This is, you know, it's really nice about playing lands and deciding to get the expensive cards and make it look nice, is you get to have all these permanents in play for so long, you really get to admire what you've done.
Well, I mean, to be fair, Dark Depths has taken some of the unending misery out of this deck. He actually has a real win con, but McLeod's not huge on the win con. So some people you see like 4 Dark Depths, 4 Thespian Stage. He has 1 Dark Depths.
No, I think Tom's happy to play this sort of game.
I mean, he doesn't seem like he's in danger of losing anytime soon. And once he gets his Tabernacle down, Colin's going to have to pay for Colin's never going to get to have lands again.
Yeah. Don't get too attached to your main phase. It's sort of the...
Don't get attached to doing anything. The problem is if your cards on the board don't win, Colin never gets to cast anything else. He can cast some instants. It's like,
Lance is a funny deck because players are really, they're loath to concede.
but I mean, this is
I don't know
over.
if I don't know if it's on camera or whatever the case may be, but players just don't like conceding even in the face of hopeless odds. But Lance is different. Even the most grisly veteran at some point just taps the mat. They can take no more of this.
It's like, okay, are you ever going to let me play anything again? The guy's like, well, definitely not.
No.
You know, I mean, I have to assume we're going to wasteland this port and then tap everything. You know, upkeep, we're going to have Tabernacle in play. We're going to tap all his lands. Yeah, you see him loaming back that Teleria West and the Tabernacle. See, question is, yeah, how much longer is Colin? How much longer does Colin want to play this game?
I would have been done ages ago.
Yeah, yeah. He's gonna waste the. There we go. There's the wasteland for the port. Here's a Tabernacle. Remember, Tom still has enough mana to do to reach and import 2 of these planes. So Colin, if he wants to have 1 main phase white mana, is gonna have to sack both his creatures. Real. All right, upkeep. Does he want to pay for these guys? We'll see. Yep, he's going to pay for both of them. Tom's going to port the other one. And Colin will have a turn with no mana. And with no mana means no outs. Now, one of the things is because he has a because he has a revoker on engineered explosives, I guess in theory if Colin gets a land and an Aether Vial. Now, I was going to say he can start putting creatures into play, but Tabernacle's just going to eat them all.
Yeah, and Tom has a Crozan Grip to boot.
And not to mention, Tom could just have, I believe he plays a Glacial Chasm, so he could just have a Glacial Chasm that he could recur every turn. Like,
Whatever, even if Colin has a theoretical live draw, I think Tom has about 5 or 6 ways to cover it.
Yeah. Another Life from the Loam Dredge. We have another port and another Wasteland added to the pile. He hasn't found his 1 Dark Depths yet. And outside of that, I don't believe he has any ways to win. He could win with just like some Punishing Fires.
Well, it looks like it appears that the Teleria West, I imagine, is getting the Dark Depths at this point, and it appears that that is the case.
Yeah. If you must, you know, there's
Yeah.
really, because you have Academy Ruins, you're not going to mill.
Right.
That's like that's the best part. You
Could
actually
win by decking.
yeah, you could actually win by starting the game and saying that your opponent's on a 54 turn clock.
Yeah.
You know, you're not going to mill. Hey, transmute for Dark Depths, and there's a concession in response to that. Thankfully, McLeod decides to end the game.
Yeah.
But he really didn't have to.
No,
he could just sit there for as long as he wanted.
You've mentioned your love of not doing things before.
Yeah,
Why rush, you know?
I'm having fun. This is what, you know, like, what's not fun about this board state if I'm the lands player? I mean, it's really miserable for the other guy, so, and he can end it whenever he wants to.
But fun and joy in human life is zero sum. You know, it's someone's joy.
That's
comes
not that can't.
So
That's
you
not
just-
necessarily true.
So you gotta make him wait.
So if I'm just like off having fun playing solitaire by
It's making
myself,
someone else's time.
else somewhere is crying.
It's often the case in Legacy, at least.
Okay.
There's other things, you know, like we can, you know, maybe go and get food together and talk, and that could be positive sum for both of us. But in Legacy,
It's-
very
no,
often
all
zero
right.
sum.
Well, like I said, you can scoop. I don't even get salty about it. You know.
Yeah.
I'll be like, yeah, that's fine, man. No problem. All right, going over to the side boards. They've already boarded once here, so we saw that the Crows and Grips came in for Tom.
Yeah, and the Abrupt Decay came in as well. So we just want some removal for Aether Vial, Phyrexian Revoker, stray equipment that sneaks through. It wouldn't surprise me if the Ensnaring Bridge came in as well. That's just another way to potentially lock Colin out of the game. He may want the additional Caracas. I'm not sure if there are any in the main deck over here, but Caracas seems good. There's a fair amount of legendary creatures going on in Colin's deck. Thalia can be a bit of a pain early on in the game. Good to have an extra answer to that.
Yep. On Logan's side, out of the board, and I believe he already has these in. I think the biggest card is Rest in Peace. Lands is a deck that really needs its graveyard. Life from the Loam is the glue that holds this deck together.
And I really like Cataclysm in this matchup too, potentially. I mean, it's not ideal because, you know, it leaves Colin with 1 creature left over. Maybe Tom is able to keep a Maze of Ith and just rebuild from there. But there does seem like spots where it's going to blow Tom out of the water pretty early.
My question is it reasonable to ever assume you'll be able to cast Cataclysm?
It's a good question.
Right?
That's definitely up in the air. It's hard to get to 4 mana.
Like, if you can get to 4 mana against lands, I'm going to throw, and this is the completely not a totally sure thing, but I'm going to guess if you can cast a 4-drop against this deck, you're probably in good shape.
Well, I think that there's a chance you can get to 4 mana on turn 4 because it takes lands a little while to develop sometimes. They're not necessarily denying your mana starting on the first or second turn of the game.
As long as it's not a mana bond draw, they don't go crazy except for those ones.
Yeah, and I actually don't even think mana bond is in Thomas's build. It's actually kind of a old school build of the deck. There's 3 main deck copies of Intuition. Haven't really seen that one in a while. A main deck Zoran Orb that he can go and find off of the Teleria West. These are elements of the deck that I saw a lot in 2011, 2012. Haven't seen a lot of lately.
I mean, he has taken the plunge and added a Dark Depths to his list. It's not like I would like it more if the 1 Dark Depths was like 1 Raging Ravine. If we were like back in that era of lands.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, it's gonna or one was it Raging Ravine or Colonnade? It was just like 1 man land.
Raging Ravine, I think.
Nantuko Monastery.
Oh, the Monastery. Yeah.
I don't know which one it was.
Some Mistress Factories sometimes.
Sure. I like just Academy Ruins. That's a pretty good one. I guess there are such things as timed rounds. You probably can't do that.
Yeah, you don't have all day with these decks.
But if you're in the elimination rounds, let me tell you, no big.
Yeah, you have to get there first, though. So you have to have some way in your deck generally to kill someone in a reasonable span of time. Because all your draws almost certainly are wins with more time. That's the problem with all these decks. Like, what do you think Joe's percentage of draws are that he would have won the game with more time? It's well over 50%, right? So it's good to speed it up sometimes.
All right. What is the advantage to not running? I feel like Mana Bond is one of the stronger cards in the deck. I'm interested in not running. There's no gamble, no Mana Bond.
Well, Mana Bond is really powerful in your most busted hands, but not very good in your medium quality hands. Whereas something like Intuition is a much more stabilizing card. You lose some explosiveness, but you get fewer hands that go nowhere or have to be mulliganed.
And what about gamble? I know that's something I normally see in this deck list as well.
I like a gamble a fair bit. I'm fine with gamble.
Is Intuition just a different? You can run Intuition or gamble. They're kind of the same effect.
It may be also an issue if you kind of have to pick one direction or the other because the colored mana starts becoming a factor at some point. You do have Mox Diamond, but other than that, you have a lot of utility lands, and there's no guarantee you're going to be able to cast, red spells and blue spells and all your green spells early on in the game.
I mean, as far as colored, just
I guess he's
straight
already
mana.
He's already on Punishing Fire, I suppose. So
as far as for straight mana producing lands, does he actually have? He has a taiga and a forest. I don't know if he actually has just, they're all utility lands, aren't they?
3 tropical islands.
Oh, okay, there we go. There's 3. 3 I tap for mana and nothing else.
A bayou. Couple fetch lands.
Oh, okay, his lands continue over in that other column. I got it. All right.
Yeah.
That would make sense.
He's crossed out the creatures column and lands over it instead, and then it fills up the entire creature column and then spills over into the lands part. I think Colin and Logan with a good-hearted chant of 5, 5, 5, 5.
It doesn't even matter. If his hand's good, it doesn't. He can be at 4. I will see, though. He's going to start on Mother of Runes. I feel like one of his ideal starts to be Aether Vial here.
Yeah, it gives him some play.
All right, Mox Diamond, discarding, not Grab Rotation, discarding Wasteland. Start from McLeod. How busted of a start is this? Rishadan Port, Punishing Fire, the Mother of Runes.
Pretty powerful opening.
I mean, he doesn't have Grove yet, but he does have a Crop Rotation and, I believe, a Life from the Loam.
This is a really powerful opening for Tom.
It's great that he can even have plays like turn 2, cast Loam, go, and that's powerful. Colin's going to play Stoneforge Mystic. He gets an equipment here. The one worry from from Tomcast, that one worry from Tom is that Colin could have a Rest in Peace. That's a card he's pretty soft to right now.
Yeah, Punishing Fire plus Loam, he's all about his graveyard.
Is it possible that he wants to protect his Loam that way? If he has Tranquil Thicket every time up when he casts Loam, he can stop it from getting Rest in Peace.
Yeah, I think Tom's going to want to go to that play when the opportunity presents itself. The problem is that he can get hit by Rest in Peace, get his Loam back, but that's still, at that point he still needs Crozan Grip or Abrupt Decay to start playing the game again.
Yeah, 2 lands. He taps for 2 mana here. He's going to go ahead and use Crop Rotation, floating a colorless to crop rotate that Rishadan Port into what I believe is a Grove of the Burn Willows. And here we go, Grove and Mox Diamond is going to... So he taps Grove for red, Colin gains a life, gets back the Punishing Fire, uses that Mox Diamond and the 1 colorless floated off the Rishadan Port to kill Stoneforge Mystic.
And now he has the ability next turn to start loaming, though it looks like Colin may be cutting that off with this Enlightened Tutor.
Yeah, he's going to upkeep it. This looks like an upkeep Enlightened Tutor, and if he has the third land, it's going to be Rest in Peace. And Tom's got to know it, too. All right, another matchup for you. Brendan Estrada, Bug Delver, was able to win over the #1 seed Eric Carabal's Esper Stoneblade deck. So a Bug Delver deck waiting the winner of this match. He won in 2 games.
And there is Rest in Peace, so Colin, if he's able to capitalize quickly, might be able to steal this 3rd game.
Yeah, Tom needs to have an answer to this enchantment. He does have some answers. Remember, he boarded in Crows and Grips. He does have Engineer Explosives and this Abrupt Decay, so immediately, I like how he cracks the Abrupt Decays it, and then cracks a Fetch Land. Already rebuilding here, as he's going to crack a Fetch Land, get a land, and I think loam right away.
Yeah, this is a very fast rebuild from Tom. And now there's a ton of pressure on Colin to lock out the graveyard again, because it's unlikely that just casting a random curve of creatures is going to outrace Tom rebuilding his loam engine.
Colin does play a second Rest in Peace out of the board. I mean, it's boarded in. If he had another Enlightened Tutor, he could do it. But I don't know if they play another Enlightened Tutor. It might just be the one.
Usually there's 1 or 2 in these lists. There are 2.
Okay, so he could try to find it. We'll see here. He does have Flicker Wisp. He's going to Flicker Wisp that Mox Diamond. That's actually a pretty good play. If
That's nice.
Tom's last card's not a land. He's going to have to sack Mox Diamond. But it's a land. Which means, okay. Yeah, wait, it's the Verdant Catacombs. We actually knew about that.
Yeah.
If it's when it enters the battlefield, it's not when you cast it. So yeah, does get a card out of his hand.
Essentially free for Tom to reset here.
The big thing is that Tom's going to start dredging. As soon as Tom dredges into a Punishing Fire, things get tough for Logan. Dredges 3 cards, he hits nothing too special. He gets a Thespian Stage to join that Verdant Catacombs on the loam.
Well, the issue here is Tom is still in 1 land a turn territory. He doesn't have any explorations or anything of the sort, so
right.
It does cap how explosive he can be with this loam. Though, as you mentioned, if he's just able to get Punishing Fire back online, it doesn't matter if he's in 1 land a turn territory. Yeah,
Punishing Fire back online works. Dredging into a Maze of Ith works as well. Colin plays Mother of Runes and Sword of Fire Ice, so there's some pressure on Tom to find that Maze of Ith pretty quickly. He finds Caracas, Misty, Rainforest, Windswept Heath. Good cards, but none of them the cards he's looking for. He's going to go ahead and loam all 3 of those guys back. You know, he also could hit if he hits a Tranquil Thicket, then he can start going faster too.
Yeah. But right now he's just kind of spinning his tires and waiting for something significant.
Yeah. A lot of damage here. This Flicker Wisp is going to swing for 7 and draw a card. It's pretty big here. Flicker Wisp suits up. It's 5/3 now, and it will shock on the attack.
This is the problem that the Lance deck gets into sometimes, is just it takes it a while to get anything going.
Yeah, and now he just needs, it's Maze of Ith that he needs now, right?
Yeah, and in the meantime, you know, if Colin's able to find Wastelands or Rashadan ports, that complicates things quite a bit.
Will he be able to get past Thomas McLeod then? It could be. There aren't that many things he can put in the graveyard that would matter that way. Glacial Chasm also works here. Actually, Glacial Chasm would give Tom as much time as he is would give him a lot of time, I think.
It's a lot of time. It's not infinite until he has a exploration in play, but
right.
It is a ton of time.
So between this, so what is he's drawing to 3 Maze of Ith, 1 Glacial Chasm. Looks like a 3 Teleria West as well. So he finds a Teleria West, he can I believe he can transmute and play the land he finds all in the same turn.
Or he can just go get Engineer Explosives, set it to 3, and get rid of the problem cards.
So there are 7 land cards he could dredge to that help him in this situation. 3 shots, probably about 40 cards left in his deck. So he's a 5th to hit any. So you can shortcut and say he's like a 5th to hit any of them. So he'd have to miss all 3 times. It's like there's pretty good odds here that he hits one. So he's a little over. He's just about 50% to hit one of them on a dredge.
And he just found a Tranquil Thicket too, which may accelerate the clock a little bit here.
He found Tranquil Thicket and found Maze of Ith on this dredge. So he's gonna be taking a lot less damage here. Tom McLeod is at 9, right? He took 7 last turn? He's going to go ahead and dredge all 3 of those. And now he can start dredging twice turn, but he can't really dredge into an exploration effect ever. So he's going to have to start, right? Eventually he has to do something like that. He can draw cards naturally with Tranquil Thicket.
Yeah.
Okay, he dredges all 3, cycles Tranquil Thicket to try to get a real card. Finds another loam, so not exactly. But he does have Maze of Ith for the turn.
Now, of course, this is, Maze of Ith is a nice reprieve here, but it is risky. If Colin finds Rashad Port or Wasteland or another Flicker Wisp, he's taking a ton of damage.
Right, so he would ideally like to find, and he does have the Wasteland for the Maze of Ith, and I believe that's lethal, isn't it? And that's going to do it. Colin Logan defeats Tom McLeod 2 games to 1, and Death and Taxes dodges the lands matchup and makes it into the semis.
Pretty impressive stuff there, but that was, that is a liability that this lands deck has. Took Tom a little bit of a time getting his shop set up there. He was able to answer Rest in Peace immediately, but just wasn't able to do anything significant until it was too late.
Yeah, he was stuck on 1 land a turn that whole game, so he was never able to really break out with some of the unfairness that the deck can have.
You need some amount of explorations and mana bonds to really go off. I mean, otherwise you're hoping that you can slowly grind your opponent down. And playing that way, it really opens up the liabilities of things like Wasteland and Rashad and Port, picking apart your defensive measures and killing you before you can overwhelm your opponent with your resource advantage.
All right. So with that match completed, we're going to go ahead and bring you back to the